They say I'm a thief. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I'm 27 years old. Right now, I'm sitting in a courtroom while my own mother tells everyone I'm a liar. She's wearing a fancy purple dress, the kind you see in magazines. Her lawyer keeps pointing at me like I did something terrible. But here's what they don't want you to know. I was just a baby when they walked away. 4 months old. Couldn't even hold my own bottle yet. Where are you watching from right now? Tell me in the comments, because what I'm about to share will shock you. My grandfather, Robert, took me in without asking for anything back. I don't remember my first steps, but Grandma Emma told me Robert was there, holding his arms out wide. My parents, they were busy doing their thing, whatever that meant. Every Tuesday night, Robert would make chocolate chip pancakes. Not Monday, not Wednesday, Tuesday, like clockwork. He'd let me pour the chocolate chips in, even when I spilled them all over the counter. Mistakes are just practice, he'd say, sweeping them up with his big hands. My mother would call maybe twice a year. Christmas and my birthday, sometimes just Christmas. The phone would ring and Robert would hand it to me with this sad smile. She'd talk for 3 minutes, promise to visit soon, then hang up. Soon never came. I kept a calendar when I turned 8. Red X for every day she didn't show up. By December, that calendar looked like a field of red flowers. No empty spaces left. Dad, I didn't even know his voice until I was 12. He sent a card once with $20 inside. No message, just his name signed at the bottom, Michael. The handwriting looked rushed, like he wrote it while running to catch a bus. School plays came and went. I was a tree in the fall show, a snowflake in winter, a sunflower in spring. Robert sat in the front row every time. Sometimes he'd bring Emma's sister, Aunt Ruth, so I'd have 2 people cheering. Other kids had whole families filling rows. I had Robert's loud clapping and Ruth's camera flashing. That was enough. It had to be. Then came the hospital visits. When I was 16, I got really sick. My stomach hurt so bad I couldn't stand up. Emergency surgery. The hospital needed to call my emergency contacts. They tried my mother first. Voicemail. They tried my father. Voicemail. Robert showed up in his pajamas, still wearing his house slippers, breathing hard from running through the parking lot. "I'm here, sweetheart," he said, holding my hand while the doctors explained everything. "I'm right here." My mother called back 3 days later. "Oh, I was at a spa retreat," she explained, like that made it okay. "No phone service in the mountains." Robert just looked at his coffee and said nothing, but I saw his jaw tighten. When I turned 18, a package arrived. Inside was a photo of my mother at some fancy party, wearing that same purple dress. On the back, she'd written, "Thinking of you." No birthday card, no gift, just her at a party, smiling with strangers. Robert picked up the photo by its corner like it might burn him. "Some people send love," he said quietly. "Some people send pictures of themselves." He made me hot chocolate anyway, extra marshmallows, and we watched old movies until midnight. That was my birthday. College was hard. Robert helped me study every Sunday afternoon. We'd sit at his kitchen table with my books spread everywhere. He didn't understand half of what I was learning, but he'd quiz me anyway, reading questions off my study guides. When I graduated with my law degree, the auditorium was packed with families. I saw Robert in the crowd, standing up and clapping so hard I thought his hands would fall off. Emma was crying happy tears beside him. My parents, they sent a text message. "Congrats," with a thumbs-up emoji, that's it. I became a lawyer just like Robert wanted. He was so proud he told everyone at the grocery store, the post office, even the guy who fixed his car. "My granddaughter's a lawyer now," he'd announce, grinning like he'd won the lottery. Last year, Robert got sick, really sick. I moved back home to take care of him. I'd cook his favorite meals, meatloaf on Mondays, spaghetti on Wednesdays, and those chocolate chip pancakes on Tuesdays. We'd sit on the porch watching birds, and he'd tell me stories about when he was young. "Sarah," he said one evening, "you've been my greatest joy. You know that, right?" I squeezed his hand. "You saved my life, Grandpa." He shook his head. "No, sweetheart, you saved mine." 2 months later, Robert passed away peacefully in his sleep. I held his hand until the very end. At the funeral, the church was filled with people whose lives he'd touched. My mother showed up late, wearing sunglasses inside. My father didn't come at all. Then came the WILL reading. Robert's lawyer, Mr. Thompson, sat us all down in his office. My mother was there, suddenly very interested. My father showed up too, for the first time in years. They sat on one side of the room. I sat alone on the other. Mr. Thompson opened the folder and read, "I leave my entire estate, including my home and all savings, to my beloved granddaughter, Sarah Mitchell." The room went silent. My mother's face turned bright red. My father stood up so fast his chair fell over. "That's $3.4 million, my mother shouted. She manipulated him. He was old and confused. But here's what she didn't know. Robert had prepared for this. He knew they'd come crawling out like ants at a picnic. He'd left behind something they never expected. Proof. Within a week, they sued me. Claimed I'd tricked Robert, that he wasn't thinking clearly, that I'd stolen their inheritance. The newspapers printed their story. My phone wouldn't stop ringing with reporters asking if I was the granddaughter who stole millions. Strangers online called me terrible names. Someone even threw eggs at my car. But I didn't crumble. Robert had taught me to be strong. So I hired the best lawyer I could find, a woman named Grace Chen who didn't take nonsense from anyone. "Let them come," Grace said, her eyes fierce. "We'll show them what real family looks like." The trial started on a rainy Monday. The courtroom smelled like old wood and secrets. My mother walked in wearing that same purple dress, confidence pouring off her like expensive perfume. My father wore a suit that looked brand new, probably bought just for this. Their lawyer, Mr. Davidson, was smooth like butter. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "this is a tragic case of an elderly man being taken advantage of by someone he trusted." He made me sound like a monster, like I'd planned everything from the time I was a baby. The jury watched me carefully, probably wondering if I was really that terrible. Then he called his first witness, a doctor named Dr. Patterson. "I examined Mr. Robert Mitchell several times," the doctor testified. "He seemed confused about dates, about his finances. He wasn't in the right mind to make big decisions." My heart sank, but Grace just smiled and wrote notes on her yellow pad. When it was her turn, she stood up slowly. "Dr. Patterson," she said sweetly, "how long had you been Robert Mitchell's doctor?" The doctor shifted in his seat. "About 4 months." "4 months," Grace repeated. "And who referred you to him?" Silence filled the room like water in a glass. The doctor's face turned pink. "Mrs. Mitchell did, his daughter." The jury leaned forward. Grace pulled out a thick folder. "Your Honor, I have records from Dr. Williams, Robert Mitchell's actual doctor for 30 years. These show Robert's mind was sharp as a knife right until the end." She handed copies to everyone. Page after page of test results, notes, and proof that Robert knew exactly what he was doing. Dr. Patterson's testimony crumbled like cookies in milk. Next, my mother took the stand. She dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, playing the hurt daughter. "Robert was like my best friend," she sobbed. "We talked all the time. I visited whenever I could. Then Sarah came along and poisoned him against me." I wanted to scream, but Grace just waited, patient like a cat watching a mouse. "Mrs. Mitchell," Grace began, "you say you visited often." "Yes," my mother sniffed, "all the time." Grace pulled out a photo album. Not just any album, the one Robert had kept for 30 years. Every page was filled with pictures of me. Birthday parties, school plays, graduations, Tuesday pancake mornings. Every single one. "Can you point to yourself in any of these photos?" Grace asked. My mother's face went white. She flipped through pages, her hands shaking. There wasn't a single picture of her, not one. "And these phone records," Grace continued, holding up papers that seemed to glow under the courtroom lights. "They show Robert called you 47 times in 1 year. You answered twice." The jury gasped. My mother tried to explain, words tumbling out like rocks down a hill. But nothing could fix what everyone now saw clearly. She'd abandoned me, abandoned Robert, and only showed up when money was involved. Grace wasn't finished. She pulled out something else, something that made my eyes water. Letters. DOZENS of letters that Robert had written to my parents over the years. Birthday invitations they'd ignored. Christmas cards they'd never responded to. Report cards he'd sent them, bragging about my grades. All returned unopened or simply thrown away. "Mr. Mitchell tried," Grace said, her voice strong and clear. "He tried to include you. You chose not to come." Then she showed the bank records. Robert had sent my parents money, every single month for years. $500 like clockwork. They'd cashed every check without ever saying thank you. The total, over $200,000. My father looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. My mother's purple dress suddenly didn't look so fancy anymore. It looked guilty. Finally, Grace pulled out Robert's last letter. He'd written it just weeks before he died, knowing this day might come. Mr. Thompson read it out loud. "Sarah stayed when everyone else left. She cooked my meals, held my hand, and made me laugh when I wanted to cry. She is my family, not by blood but by choice, and that matters more." The courtroom was so quiet you could hear hearts breaking. The judge, a kind woman named Judge Anderson, looked at my parents with eyes that could freeze fire. "I've seen many cases," she said slowly, "but this might be the clearest one yet. Sarah Mitchell cared for her grandfather with love. You saw him as a bank account." The gavel came down like thunder. "Case dismissed. The will stands. Furthermore, the plaintiffs will pay all court costs." My mother's mouth fell open. My father just stared at his shoes. They'd lost. Not just the money, they'd lost any chance of pretending they'd been good parents. Everyone now knew the truth. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed, but I walked past them all. Grace put her hand on my shoulder. "You won because you deserve to win," she said. That night I went home to Robert's home, and why home now, and made chocolate chip pancakes. On a Tuesday, just like always. I ate them on the porch, watching the stars come out one by one. "We did it, Grandpa," I whispered to the sky. "We showed them." My parents, they disappeared again, just like they'd done my whole life. I heard my mother move to another state. My father sent one email asking if we could start over. I deleted it without responding. Some doors, once closed, should stay closed. I still live in Robert's house. I've planted flowers in the garden he loved. On Tuesdays, I make those pancakes and remember the man who chose me when he didn't have to. Blood might make you related, but love makes you family. Robert taught me that. So if you're watching this and someone's trying to take from you what you earned with love and time, fight back. Tell your truth. Keep your receipts. And remember, the people who show up when life is hard are your real family. Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments. And if someone showed up for you when nobody else did, tell me their name. Let's celebrate the real heroes together. Justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, like pancakes on Tuesday mornings. Sometimes it's simple, like showing up. And sometimes it's a courtroom full of people finally seeing the truth. They wanted millions. They got nothing. I wanted justice. I got everything. This is Iron Revenge reminding you, loyalty isn't bought, it's built. One Tuesday at a time.